Chapter 3. So You Want to Be Famous. Metamorphosis was an amazing illusion, but it wasn't enough to make the Houdinis as famous as Harry wanted to be. The show needed to add something new and dramatic. Harry tried a lot of different things. With Best, he did mind-reading acts, circus acrobatics, and even faked talking to the dead a few times. How did he talk to the dead? Research and cleverness. When they got to a new town, Harry read the local newspapers. He'd go to the graveyard to see who had just died. He listened to people tell stories about friends. Then on stage, he would use this information to make people think he was really talking to ghosts. It was very believable to the audience. Houdini gave up talking to the dead. After only a few performances, however, he didn't like the idea of tricking people this way. It was not the same as magic, where the audience knew that some illusion or trick had to be involved. Luckily, Harry finally did something unique to make him famous: escapes. Other magicians had used handcuffs in their acts before Houdini, but he was the first who had made it the main attraction of his show. He was also the first person to try escaping from a straitjacket in front of an audience. Straitjackets are complicated coats with straps and buckles. They are used to keep someone violent from hurting himself or others. A person in a straitjacket can't use their arms and hands at all. Harry thought that he could get out of one. After a lot of practice and effort, he really could, and it looked impressive on the stage. He decided not to hide behind a curtain for this part of the show because it wasn't a trick at all. It just took a lot of skill and effort and practice. Even after watching him do it, the audience couldn't really explain how it was done, and certainly no one else could do it. Escaping from a straitjacket. Expand the chest and shoulders as jacket is being tightened. Deflate the chest and shoulders and work arms up over the head. With the arms loose, you can now open the buckles on the back of the jacket until free. Harry also came up with a really terrific way to promote his act. Whenever he and Bess arrived in a new town, he'd go straight to the local police station. "I am Harry Houdini, king of handcuffs," he would announce. "Lock me up, tie me up, put any and all your handcuffs on me. I guarantee you I will escape in no time at all." The police officers usually laughed at him. Who did this short guy with the big mouth think he was? They'd never heard of any Harry Houdini. Everybody figured that magicians use trick handcuffs. Nobody would escape from real handcuffs. They were so sure of this that they let Harry bring reporters from the local paper to watch. The police officers would search Harry for tools. Sometimes they even insisted he do his trick naked, so that they could be sure he wasn't hiding any keys in his clothing. Then they would tie him up, snap a few pairs of handcuffs on his hands and feet, and leave him alone in a room, or lock him in one of their jail cells. "We'll come back and let you out in a little while," the policeman joked. They'd sit in the next room to talk about this crazy show-off. Imagine their surprise a couple of minutes later. In walked Harry, holding the handcuffs up in one hand. Sometimes he was able to free himself in less than a minute. The policemen and the news reporters were amazed. They couldn't figure out how he had done it. Harry didn't get paid for these stunts, but that didn't matter because of all the stories in the newspapers. The attention made people come to his show. They wanted to see the magician who could trick their own policeman. The trouble was that this only worked in one town at a time. He could do this in a small city in Missouri and be a big hit for one night. But as soon as he moved to the next place, he'd be Mr. Nobody again. And he'd have to start all over. Remember, there was no television or internet. It was hard to spread news around the country, especially about one small magic act. By 1899, Harry and Bess had been on the road together for 5 long years. Harry was becoming discouraged. He started offering to sell his magic secrets. He even thought of quitting the magic business altogether. Then, Just in the nick of time, Harry was discovered. A man saw the Houdinis performing one night. He said to Harry, "Hey, that's quite a show you've got right there. Tell you what, leave out the card tricks and the paper tearing illusions. Just give me 20 minutes of escapes, including metamorphosis, and I'll make you famous." So who was this man? He was Martin Beck, in charge of the famous Orpheum Circuit. The Orpheum Circuit was a nationwide chain of theaters, or vaudeville houses. Vaudeville houses were a lot classier than dime museums. Each night, there was a show with many different acts: singers, dancers, acrobats, comedians, and so on. Martin saw that Harry's act would be perfect for the vaudeville. It was new, it was different, and it was exciting. He thought Harry could be a huge success. Of course, Harry had always thought so too. There they were right. Almost overnight, Harry became a sensation. He finally had time to focus on what he was best at: escapes. By the end of 1899, he was earning over $100 a week, which was a lot of money back then. Best of all, he was getting the attention he had always dreamed of. Now, not only was Harry ready for the world, but the world was ready for him.